Very good afternoon to all. I welcome you all to today's session on exporting to Nigeria successfully. And in order to do that, we are here to understand regarding the SONCAP certification requirements, which is a very essential certification if we wish to export certain category of goods to Nigeria. So the purpose of today's session is to primarily explain to the participants regarding the nitty-gritties of the SONCAP certification and what are the various national compliance aspects involved with this certification with regard to exports to Nigeria, which, as you all may be aware of, is one of the most important markets for India when it comes to African continent. So welcome to all, and I also wish to welcome all the distinguished speakers from Nigeria, Mr. Niket Sinha and other senior officials from HQTS India. So we are doing this session jointly with HQTS, which is one of the leading export certification agencies globally and has a strong presence in India. So I would now request Ms. Juin Chaudhary, the regional head of FIEO Eastern Region, to kindly deliver the welcome address for today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Gaurav, and I welcome all the participants and our honored speakers who have joined in today. I will definitely like to mention Gaurav has taken a very good initiative of talking about compliances, especially a country like Nigeria. I was going through a few reports, and we have also seen that Ministry of Commerce is also working very closely to understand various compliance requirements of various countries. Since we are signing FTAs with different countries, so naturally, besides the tariff barriers, the market is nowadays driven by non-tariff barriers, which we are non-stop talking and trying to apprise our members. Now, while going through few of the reports, I was seeing that many countries are strictly into compliances. They are also affecting the pricing of the product that you're looking into. What are the stringent compliances they usually the overseas marketing are looking, markets are looking are very clearly has been identified by the Government of India, Ministry of Commerce. They have said that the product testing and certification traceability mandates, packaging and labeling norms, environmental and social compliance standards, and emerging carbon reporting obligations are becoming very important to access any market. Now, Nigeria being a good market for India and with all their compliances, naturally, everybody, when we want to focus into emerging market or a new market, we have to understand their compliances. And one of the most important requirement in compliance with the Standards Organization of Nigeria Conformity Assessment Program, or SONCAP. Now, SONCAP operates under the authority of the Standard Organization of Nigeria and serves as Nigeria's mandatory pre-shipment conformity assessment system for regulated imported products. The program is designed, I was just reading through it, that it is designed to ensure that imported goods comply with Nigerian industrial standards or approved international standards before shipment to Nigeria. Now, many of the times we have seen that even if we want to access a market, these gray areas we are not able to understand. When we get the lead, we speak with the buyer, and when we come to know about this, we are not able to understand how to comply through them. And not only that, we have to keep in mind that this certification costs money. For example, today morning, I was speaking with one of our exporters, a woman entrepreneur who's based in New Delhi, and she's into textile. She clearly said, Madam, if we are accessing the EU market, or rather I have to go to Sweden or whichever country, I have to have the GOTS certificate, and the GOTS certificate every year costs me 1.5 lakh. Now, if the certification is costing me 1.5 lakh, it's only one certification she talked about. There are many other certificates she has to take it. Now, all the certifications, they are costing you money naturally. They be part of your pricing. The reason today organizing this session is that to apprise you people not over only about the compliances, but to also understand that what are the audit processes we have to go through it, how this kind of certifications is also will be helping you to design your price factor to access the market. Rather than taking too much of time, I will request my colleague Richard to please continue with the session, and I welcome the speakers also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your insightful address. So I would now kindly request Mr. Niket Sinha, the head of marketing of HQTS India, to kindly speak on the market opportunities for Indian exporters in Nigeria and what is the export landscape there and the importance of regulatory compliance. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Let's going ahead and understanding what is the importance of the Nigerian market. Let's understand why Nigeria is becoming one of the increasing important market for Indian exporters. So Nigeria has one of the largest economy in Africa continent with a population of more than 230 million people. This particular country had a strong growing demand for importing products, and another important advantage of this particular country is the geographic location. So it is one of the strategic gateway of West Africa, which means the business entering in Nigeria may also have access opportunity to nearby countries of Nigeria, which are landlocked. At the same time, Nigerian buyers today can, also become more quality conscious, and they are also increasing demand for the products which meet international standard and the regulatory requirements. If you see, uh, to the Nigerian market, there are some sectors which are more important, or you can say more familiar. Those are like electrical and electronic products, construction materials, industrial machinery, consumer goods, chemical, renewable energy equipment, and healthcare products. So these opportunities are very significant. But entering into market successfully is not just depend upon price and product availability. It also depend upon understanding the local market, the regulatory concern of the country called Nigeria. So moving to our next slide, sport landscape and opportunities. So now let's look at what creates success in Nigerian market. From the exporter perspective, Nigerian buyers generally look for four different things. First is competitive pricing. Second is reliable supplier who deliver consistently. And third is the product that meet international quality standard. And fourth is fast shipment clearance and minimal delays. However, the exporters commonly face different kind of challenges. Some of the most common challenges are missing or incomplete documentation, shipment delays, then product conformity concerns, customs clearance delays, then again unexpected compliance related cost. So these are the issues which you generally face by the exporter. So exporter who prepare for certification and compliance requirement before the shipment usually get different kind of benefits. First and most important is fast custom processing. Second is lower rejection rate. Third is better customer confidence. And fourth one is most predictable and export outcomes. So this is where the compliance preparation start creating, competitive advantage in case everything has been decided in advance before the shipment. Now, why this regulatory compliance is important in terms of, exporting to Nigeria? So how do exporter reduce these delays and improve market access? It is very simple answer, taking care of the regulatory compliance of Nigeria market. For exports into Nigeria, one of the biggest key compliance is SONCAP certification. It is a purpose to ensure that the regulatory imported goods comply with the Nigerian standard before entering into Nigerian market. For exporters who are, who are getting into compliances, should also be viewed as an additional step. It should be viewed as a business enabler. When compliance is managed correctly, the exporter get benefited. For example, let's say the reduced clearance delay, then lower shipment rejection rate, greater confidence from importers, then more predictable delivery timelines, and improved business continuity. These are some of the advantage once you get into SONCAP and get it on time. And I think my task is done from here. I will again, give it back to the Richard for the next guest speaker.
Thank you very much, sir, for your brief presentation. I would now request Mr. Stephen Atahiru, Head of International Product Certification Department, Standards Organization of Nigeria, to kindly deliver a presentation on understanding SONCAP, overview and requirements. So under that, we are going to cover what is the SONCAP certification all about, why it matters, what are the regulatory frameworks and compliance expectations, and which are the products which are covered under SONCAP. So over to you, Mr. Stephen.
All right. So, thank you, um, HQTS, for organizing this session for the Indian exporters. Um, I think that it is a session that we cherish very seriously for the purpose of enhancing trade. Now, my name is Atahiru Stephen, and I am the head of the International Product Certification Department of the Standards Organization of Nigeria. Now, the SONCAP scheme is under a division we call the SONCAP, which is a division. It's one of the divisions that I oversee as the head of the department. My job is to actually just give an overview of what the SONCAP certification is all about, especially for those of us on the call that do not know anything about the SONCAP certification. And then the technicalities, of course, will be delivered by Mr. Idu, who is the staff of HQTS. All right. So without wasting much time, it's a good thing that the first two speakers have actually done justice to what I'm even supposed to do a presentation on. So uh, that means that I'll not take too much time in delivering my own presentation. Okay, so I will just be giving us an overview of what the SONCAP scheme is all about, why it matters, the regulatory framework around the SONCAP scheme itself, and then compliance obligations from all the stakeholders that participate in the SONCAP scheme. Stakeholders would include um, the IAFs. I will explain who the IAFs are. Standards Organization of Nigeria, the manufacturers and exporters, and then the importers. We all have obligations in implementing the SONCAP scheme. And then, of course, very important, the products that are covered under the SONCAP scheme. I was reading some of the comments from the participants. Somebody in the pharmaceutical industry is also on this call. So this particular module will explain the scope of the SONCAP scheme itself. Okay, so like was explained by the first two speakers, the the SONCAP stands for the Standards Organization of Nigeria Conformity Assessment Program. Now, the WTO agreement on technical barrier to trade is aimed at ensuring that standards and conformity assessment activities do not constitute technical barrier to trade. So, and it also recognizes the fact that member countries have the right to implement measures to achieve their legitimate objectives. One of such objectives is the protection of the health and safety and even the environment of their population or citizenry from defective defective or deceptive trade practices, and also the importation of dangerous or substandard products. It is actually against this backdrop that the federal government of Nigeria, through the Standards Organization of Nigeria, established the SONCAP scheme with the sole purpose or the main purpose of ensuring that products that are meant to be imported into Nigeria comply with established standards by way of hierarchy. First, the Nigerian industrial standards or any other approved international standards. Now, this scheme is implemented on behalf of the Standards Organization of Nigeria by private testing, inspection, and certification bodies who carry out conformity assessment activities in the countries of export before the consignments come into Nigeria. Now, the SONCAP scheme is actually a consignment-based conformity assessment. What it means is that it looks at every consignment that comes into Nigeria and ensures that the requisite conformity assessment activities are carried out on the consignments before they get into Nigeria. Okay, so why does SONCAP matter? Same thing that I have said, to just ensure that all products that are regulated by the Standards Organization of Nigeria meet the requirements of the applicable standards before they are now shipped into Nigeria. But by way of note, it is important to note that any product that comes into Nigeria that is regulated by the Standards Organization of Nigeria, and it comes into Nigeria without the requisite SONCAP certification, is already in violation of the extant laws of Nigeria and could be, of course, subjected to either detention, testing, and possible destruction of the products at the expense of the importer. So that is very key for the exporters on this call. Okay. In summary, let me just summarize how the SONCAP scheme operates. Mr. Idu of HQTS will give the technical details on the certification process itself. But in summary, before any consignment of products come into Nigeria, they are expected to first get the exporter or the manufacturer is expected to obtain a product certificate from this acronym. IAF stands for Independent Accredited Firms. That's what we call those contractors that we have engaged carry out this conformity assessment on consignments on behalf of SON offshore. So we call them the independent accredited firms. Currently, SON has about 8 of them. HQTS is one of them. I'm not here to promote HQTS, but this webinar is organized by HQTS to create this awareness. So we currently have about 8 IAFs that carry out, that implement this conformity assessment on behalf of the Standards Organization of Nigeria. So for any consignment to come into Nigeria, first through the IAFs, the exporter or the manufacturer has to obtain a product certificate for the consignments to be imported into Nigeria. And there are requirements around the issuance of that product certificate. The key, of course, is the availability of conformity supporting documents. The key document, of course, would be the test report, whether it is the importer submitting the document, or it is the manufacturer or the exporter that is making available that document. But of course, there are certain requirements around accepting the test report that is submitted. I believe that Mr. Edu will speak to those requirements. So first, that product certificate has to be issued to confirm that the consignment of products to be imported into Nigeria have met requirements of the applicable standards, whether it is the Nigerian industrial standards, in the absence of Nigerian industrial standards, whether they have met the requirements of international standards, ISO, IEC, and other international standards. Sometimes, in the absence of standards, we could even accept sector-specific specifications or requirements and all of that. But those requirements must be approved by the SONCAP division itself. Then the next certificate to be obtained is at the point of shipment. The next certificate to be obtained would be the shipment certificate, which is also issued by the IAF that is carrying out this process. And the essence of issuing the the shipment certificate, is to confirm that at the point of shipment, this consignment that is going into Nigeria is the same consignment for which the product certificate was issued. And that is where inspection comes in. So two certificates. First, the product certificate confirming that the products, the consignments have met requirements of applicable standards. And then the shipment certificate at the point of shipment to confirm that, okay, yes, this consignment are the same consignments for which product certificates were issued. Now, the essence of these certificates are linked to the Nigerian import procedure. The product certificate is a requirement for processing a document we call the Form M. This Form M is required by the Nigerian Central Bank for the purpose of monitoring imports and monitoring and controlling imports that are coming into Nigeria, and also ensuring that foreign exchange is appropriately utilized. The speaker from the Nigerian Central Bank will speak more on the Form M. And one of the requirements for you to process to obtain that Form M is the product certificate that is issued to the manufacturer or exporter by the IAM. Then the SONCAP certificate is a requirement for the Nigerian Customs Services to prepare what we call the PAR, that is the pre-arrival assessment report, which is a document that is required for clearing your consignment when it arrives. So the presenter from the Nigerian Customs Service will also speak to this. So you can see the linkage between the Standards Organization of Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Customs. That is why the product certificate and the SONCAP certificates are very, very important for your consignment to get into Nigeria. Okay, so what is the regulatory framework around this SONCAP scheme? The regulatory framework would typically speak to the legal aspects, the operational aspects, and also maybe the technical aspects of the scheme itself. Okay, so the legal aspect, what makes SONCAP legitimate? Now, it is based on the Standards Organization of Nigeria's Act 2015 as amended. The act was first enacted in 19 in 2019, is it 2020, is it 20, 2000 and, is it, okay, 1971, rather, sorry. That was the first act that established the Standards Organization of Nigeria. Now, this act provides that the Council of the Standards Organization of Nigeria establishes standards. It is worthy to note that the Standards Organization of Nigeria is the national standards body for Nigeria. So it is the apex standards body in Nigeria. So it is saddled with the responsibility for elaborating standards, coordinating standard activities in Nigeria, and also representing the interest of Nigeria in international standardization. So first, we request that Standards Organization of Nigeria establishes standards in commerce for certifying products in commerce and industries. So it starts from there. And then it also requires that the Standards Organization of Nigeria does everything that is necessary to ensure compliance with those standards that have been established. Right? Then it takes us to where it also provides that Standard Organization of Nigeria establishes import and export product surveillance, certification and conformity assessment schemes. So this is where the SONCAP scheme derives its legibility, its credibility. And that is why SON established the SONCAP, and it was established as far back as 2005 for the sole purpose of ensuring that products to be imported into Nigeria that are regulated by SON conform with the applicable standards or technical regulations. These are other requirements that may not really affect, that may not be of importance to the audience on this call. Okay, so basically that is the first regulatory framework for the SONCAP scheme itself. The law, the legal requirement, which is the SON Act 2015. Then, of course, for operations, the SONCAP scheme has what we call the operational guidelines. These guidelines are made available to all the IAFs that SON engages to carry out the SONCAP scheme. So the guidelines provide requirements such as those listed on the slide. It defines, of course, the scope of coverage, those products that should come under the SONCAP scheme. It's very important. And then, of course, the certification procedure itself, which Mr. Idu, when he comes to do his presentation, will explain the different routes associated with the product certificate. And then, of course, because we have engaged the IAS to carry out these activities on behalf of SON, we need to also ensure that they are carrying out these activities based on our contract terms. So we carry out some form of monitoring and evaluation based on the key performance indicators that we have set for them. The guidelines also provide requirements for subcontracting activities that relate to SONCAP services. We know that there's no organization that may have the capability to implement all the requirements in the area of inspection testing. So we have provisions for subcontracting, but they have to be carried out in line with certain defined criteria. And then, of course, the SONCAP charges, which was spoken about by the first speaker. We have defined charges for the certification process. We have defined charges for the product certificate on route A, the product certificate for route B, the product certificate for route C, and even the product certificate. There's a particular route that we recently brought about, which is the route X, which has to do with liquefied petroleum gas and then the compressed natural gas, the related products. So we have established administrative fees that are meant to be charged by the IAFs to the importers. Then, of course, it defines issues around undercutting of administrative fees. Over time, implementing the scheme, we've discovered that everybody, of course, is in the market to make profit. And over time, we have realized that some IAFs may carry out certain activities to charge clients fees that are less than what has been agreed by SON, so only for the purpose of mainly for the purpose of gaining market access. And so we have some requirements. We have noticed that a lot of times it compromises standards. So we've defined requirements around undercutting of administrative charges. And then, of course, we have requirements around how you transmit certificates to our SONCAP portal, and then the monthly reports. The monthly reports that we get from the IAFs is what we use to also generate the demand notice for them to make payments, and then SON now gets the royalty from the fees that the IAFs have gotten. And then requirements around the Nigerian industrial standard. We have a hierarchy of implementation of standards for the IAFs. For any product coming into Nigeria, there's a hierarchy of standards that the products have to comply with. At the top of the hierarchy is the Nigerian industrial standard. Product first has to comply with the Nigerian industrial standard. If there's no Nigerian industrial standard that covers that product, then we can go for international standards, ISO, IEC, and other international standards. But the IAF has to seek approval from the SONCAP or the SONCAP division for approval before that standard is utilized. So we have all those requirements. So we insist that all IAFs purchase the Nigerian industrial standards for utilization. And then, of course, the royalty payable to SON from the charges that the IAFs charge. Then the third framework for the implementation of the SONCAP scheme is of course the international best practices. All the IAFs are expected to demonstrate compliance with these standards on the screen. First, because you are a testing, inspection, and a certification body, you must demonstrate that you have accreditation to ISO 17065. which is the standard that demonstrates competence that you can carry out product certification. It is one of those criteria that we use in even selecting an IAF to carry out the SONCAP scheme on behalf of SON. Then, of course, before certification, you must carry out inspection of the consignments and take samples. So we expect that your inspection activities should be accredited to ISO 17020. And then you take the samples for testing. The laboratories that carry out these testing activities must be accredited to ISO 17025. So we work around these international best practices to ensure that, to give us that assurance that those consignments that are coming into Nigeria are fit for purpose. And then, of course, the WTO technical barriers to trade principles. So in the agreement that I mentioned earlier, you find principles around non-discrimination. You find principles around access to markets, and then even the technology development and all of that. So we operate, the SONCAP scheme operates within these principles. So what about the compliance obligations from all the stakeholders involved in the SONCAP scheme? In the SONCAP scheme, of course, you have, like I said, you have SON as the administrator of the scheme. We have our own compliance expectations. You have the independent accredited firms. We have their compliance obligations. We have the manufacturers or the exporters. There are expectations from them. And then we have the importers. There are expectations from them. So I'll just quickly flip through the slides quickly. So of course, for the IAFs, these are the key people in this scheme. So the expectations are actually very, very high. So you have from the technical compliance, all the inspection activities, the laboratory testing of products, and all of those. So it's very key operational compliance, adhering strictly to the guidelines of the SONCAP scheme. It's very important. If they all have these guidelines, and we evaluate them based on these guidelines, because over time we have identified certain areas where sharp practices are carried out by IAFs, and we have been able to actually address them in those guidelines. And then, of course, following the approved certification procedures and issuing certificates only when products comply with requirements. This is very key for us. In fact, we are going to take this aspect very seriously, because the Standards Organization of Nigeria has now decided to lay more emphasis on the market. Everything we do here ends up in the market. These products end up in the market. So the Standards Organization of Nigeria has just recently, 2 weeks ago, established an additional department within the organization. We call it the Market Surveillance Department. So that department is saddled with the responsibility of going to the markets to pick up samples and subject them to evaluation again. So if we push out a product into the market that has been certified by an IAF, and then the product is sampled in the market and is subjected to test, and then it is found to have failed the test, then it becomes a problem. So it is very important that this aspect is taken very seriously. In the whole of this scheme, the key thing for me is the conformity supporting document that you submit for every consignment that is coming into Nigeria. And then, of course, maintaining accurate records to provide for traceability. Then, of course, the ethical compliance issues. We know that issues of conflict of interest may arise. That is why those standards we mentioned earlier are very key, because in those standards, they have addressed the issue of impartiality. So any IAF that has accreditation for those standards would have addressed these issues. And then, of course, I had mentioned issues of undercutting approved SONCAP administrative fees, and then preventing fraudulent certification activities. We see these things frequently um, as we monitor the IAFs. And then, of course, maintaining confidentiality and professionalism, which are requirements that are addressed in ISO 17065, 17020, and 17025. Then, of course, the reporting requirements from the IAFs, like I mentioned, we have defined all those requirements in our SONCAP guidelines for the IAFs to follow. For the manufacturers and the exporters, everything starts from them. Because if your product is not of quality, we expect that your product shouldn't into Nigeria. So the product certificates are issued to the exporters or manufacturers. So it is the responsibility of the exporters or manufacturers to ensure that their products are of quality. And then, of course, they should also facilitate inspection and testing if the need arises, provide authentic technical documents and test reports. We have defined requirements around the test reports that are acceptable to the Standards Organization of Nigeria for the SONCAP scheme. I'm sure Mr. Idu will speak to that aspect of it. And in the event that products fail quality requirements, what are those corrective actions that you are expected to carry out to ensure that this does not, of course, does not happen again? So we have all of those for the exporters. Now for the importers. The importers are bringing in the products. A lot of them are ignorant of the requirements of SONCAP, but importantly, they should know that their consignment must be accompanied with SONCAP certificates. Like I mentioned earlier, the SONCAP certificates are we have two of them, the product certificate and the shipment certificate. So the importers are expected to ensure that their consignments are accompanied with these certificates, ensure that their products comply. The importers themselves should ensure that they provide truthful information, because from years of implementing this scheme, we have discovered that importers can be fraudulent. And also, we expect that they provide truthful information. We expect that they do not misdeclare their goods. I'm sure the person doing the presentation for the Nigerian Customs Services will speak to this issue of misdeclaration of goods. Over time, we have found situations where importers would misdeclare either by wrong description of goods, using the wrong HS codes, for the purpose of either avoiding the requisite conformity assessment procedure, or to have reduced duty and taxes. So we see all these things in the market. And then, of course, cooperate with SON and other regulatory agencies. For SON, we are the administrators of this scheme. It's for us to ensure that there's a level playing field for everybody that is participating in the scheme. The IAFs will attest to that. We try to ensure that we are fair to everybody. But at the same time, in our guidelines, we are in a position to determine where an IAF can operate, what type of products an IAF can even give certification for. So we have all those aspects defined in our guidelines. And then, of course, we monitor their performance. We have had cause to to query IAFs. We have had calls to suspend IAFs. We have had calls to even terminate our contract with IAFs based on reports that we get and our monitoring and evaluation activities. But what we do annually we visit every IAF, whether at their head office or any location of their choice, to monitor what they do in carrying out this scheme on behalf of SON. So we do that, and based on our report, we determine whether we should continue to have engagement with the IAFs or not. Every contract is signed for 4 years. After 4 years, we evaluate your performance and determine whether we should continue doing business with you as an IAF. And then, of course, we enforce sanctions. Some of the sanctions, like I mentioned, could be a warning, could be suspension or outright termination of the contract, so that at the end of the day, we continue to improve the effectiveness of the scheme. All right, so finally, let's just quickly look at the products that are covered by the SONCAP scheme, which is very important. Now, I would address this module by just mentioning those products that are not covered by the scheme. Now, if you look at this slide, you have food products, drugs, and certain chemicals. These products are not covered by the SONCAP scheme. And even, drugs and even pharmaceuticals, to address the requirement of one of the participants that made a comment. Drugs and pharmaceuticals. It's not because our act does not allow us to do so, but it is because there's an agency in Nigeria that is called the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration Control. They also regulate food and drugs. So, but based on understanding, because we do not want multiple regulations, we have decided that NAFDAC should regulate food products, drugs, and certain chemicals, so that we do not mount too much pressure on the importer. So that is the arrangement. And then, of course, the military hardware and equipment are not covered under the SONCAP scheme. Then the contraband are products that are prohibited from being imported into Nigeria. The prohibition list is captured on the website of the Nigerian Customs Services, who update that list as appropriate. So such products are not actually expected to go through the SONCAP scheme. And then, of course, all used products are not expected to go through the SONCAP scheme. For automobiles, the customs have said that automobiles that were manufactured from 12 years and above cannot come through the SONCAP scheme. So we consider that, and we do not allow such products to come under the SONCAP scheme. So basically, that is the scope of products that come up under the SONCAP scheme. There is this category of products that that fall under pressurized vessels, whether the liquefied petroleum gas or the compressed natural gas products, that also come under the SONCAP scheme. But we assign a few IAFs to handle such products, because those are very delicate, life-endangering products. So we assign those products to a few IAFs, and our SONCAP guidelines allow us to do so. So basically, that's the scope of the products that do not come under the SONCAP scheme. This is actually a summary of it: food products, medicines and pharmaceuticals, medicinals, other than equipment. Equipment in the medical line, certain equipment in the medical line are regulated by SOM. And then, of course, then chemicals, like we said, military wares, contrabands, and then used products. We do not regulate under the SONCAP scheme. Okay, so now in conclusion, the SONCAP scheme is meant to achieve the legitimate objective of Nigeria in ensuring that it protects its citizenry from deceptive trade practices and importation of substandard products. And we carry out this scheme in conjunction with the IAFs. HQTS is one of the IAFs. Like I said, I'm not here to promote HQTS. They organize this sensitization because we encourage them to do so that exporters understand the requirements of the scheme itself. We have about 8 of the IAFs that import exporters can utilize to implement this scheme. So, but it's a good thing that HQTS is carrying out this sensitization so that exporters understand the requirements of the SONCAP scheme. So I would just want to call on the Indian exporting community to ensure that you patronize this scheme so that you do not find yourself falling foul of the laws of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your detailed presentation. So, I would now request Mr. Idu Ame from HQTS. So we will move on to the next topic, which is to be covered by Mr. Jamilu Ado, Deputy Director of Trade and Exchange Department, Central Bank of Nigeria. Welcome, sir. So Mr. Jamilu would be delivering a presentation on understanding E-Form M and trade documentation requirements. Uh, he would also be giving an overview of the E-Form M. What is the role of the Central Bank of Nigeria in import transactions and the documentations required for that? And what are the common exporter mistakes? So I would now request Mr. Jamilu to kindly begin with this presentation. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. You see, a forum like this is what we need as a country. I believe if we should have much of this, all the challenges a lot of importers, encounter in Nigeria, those problems will be solved. Okay, thank you. I think when Mr. Atahir was going through his presentation, I was just saying in my mind that how I wish I had advised you to actually invite NAFDAC, because they're going to be very, very key here. But then this is just the beginning. I want to believe more of this, will happen, right? So, understanding E-Form M, trade documentation, just though I was given just 20 minutes, I will try as much as possible to make do with the time I was given so that I will cover as much as possible. Yes, please hold on. Sorry, let me share again. Let me stop sharing and share again. Okay. So are we good? Can you all see my screen, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
I do. You can see your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. So I want to run us through the proper understanding of E-Form M and trade documentation requirement. So Nigeria's import compliance journey. E-Form M technically and basically is a bridge that connects the product conformity. I think Mr. Atahiru have done a great deal of justice to the product certification or conformity. So Conform M is the first, document that will have to be completed if, an importer intends to import, goods into the country. Why I said if he intends, because intention alone will mean it stays with you, but you have to take it a step further by establishing a form, a trade form from CBN, which is called Form M. But before you do that, I am so happy that you arranged a presentation in such a way that SON started, then CBN, then PA, and that is exactly the flow of the transaction. Exporter meets Nigerian standard and obtain a product certificate before Form M establishment. Then the importer declares intent through the bank. You cannot just say I intend to, import just like that. You declare that your intention to import by filling, what we call E-Form M. And after the completion of the E-Form M is registered by the Nigerian Customs, then it moves to a stage where power will be issued for, clearing of those goods. The E-Form M is a bridge that connects this. Product compliance, E-Form M, and the PA. This is just for reiteration. What then is this E-Form M? Form M is Nigeria's official electronic import declaration. If you have to import any physical or tangible thing, goods into Nigeria, then it becomes paramount and important for you to fill in the Form M. The Form M formalizes intent. As I've earlier said, it's not just enough for you to say, I intend to import this from India into Nigeria. The only document that will formalize your intention, is the E-Form M. It records importer, exporter goods description, value to declare the intention to import. It triggers approval, mandatory for all, imports into Nigeria. So where Form M fits, we have quite a number of forms in CBN. I just want to run us through, not to bore us with so much English, but I think it's very important that we understand that CBN has other forms aside the Form M. I believe in the near future, probably some of you will get to will venture into businesses that will allow you to use some of these forms. We have Forms M, Form A. Form A is for invisible transaction, remittances, payments. Then we have Form NXP, which has to do with commercial, export. We have Form NCX, which has to do with non-commercial, export and import. But here our emphasis is on the Form M. One will be tempted to ask, why does the E-Form M matters? It matters a lot to us. One, for regulatory oversight, it confirms goods meet Nigerian standard and agency requirement before they arrive. Mr. Atahiru spoke extensively to this point. Without the Form M, the product certificate will not be useful because there has to be the Form M, which will allow you to attach the product certificate in order to establish this Form M. So why it matters? One is to confirm goods meet Nigerian standard agency requirement before they arrive. Secondly, foreign exchange control. You cannot make any payment on importation without establishing Form M. So it ensures only proper documented imports can access FX through the banking system. Then 3, we talk about transparency, trade transparency. This captures accurate data, for monitoring and policy making purposes. Here we have smooth customs flow. I have said before now, and Mr. Atahiru actually spoke to that. This fits into the customs where it facilitates the issuance of PAR, that is pre-arrival assessment report. This is meant to facilitate clearance, payments of duties, at the port. Then, let me move us to our own mandate, the mandate of the CBN. Empower the Foreign Exchange Monitoring and Miscellaneous Provision Act of 1995, the CBN regulates FX use and issues foreign exchange manual, integrating foreign exchange control directly into the eForm M process. So, well, this is a bonus for you to understand that we regulate every payment that will have to be met. We've been empowered by law, by legislation, just as Mr. Atahiru stated earlier, that SONCAP too has, legal by, completed Form M is submitted through electronically to an authorized dealer bank, valid for import only after. One thing we have to be very careful with here is just applying a loan does not mean that that Form M has been registered. You apply, the authorized dealer banks will now validate this document. It is after the validation that Nigeria Customs registers this Form M. So it is only after the registration by Nigerian Customs that you will say, okay, you have successfully established, your Form M. So it is stated here, then authorized dealer bank, commercial banks act for the CBN. What they do is they cite this document and validate. They cite the original document and validate this document for customs to, register this form. So CBN ensures only documented import is very important here. Only documented import access FX and can withhold FX or reject a non-compliant Form M. So if a Form M is not compliant, CBN reserves that right to reject it. That is why there has to be serious conformity in the way the Form M is established. Okay? So key rule here, Form M is valid for importation only after registration by the Nigerian Customs. I am stating here again, only after registration by the Nigerian Customs, because we've had issues where importer claims that he has already established Form M, but that Form M has not been registered by the Nigerian Customs. So Form M is only valid for importation only after registration by the Nigerian Customs, and banks must confirm registration before, proceeding. So this is still the 3 import stage. I'm still reiterating. Pre-import stage, importers intent declares permit, certificate, that is product certificate. Then we have the pass stage, pre-arrival, custom issues a pre-arrival stage, assessment report. Then we have the clearance stage, that is after the good has arrived. Then there are fiscal inspection, duty payment, and final goods to final release of goods. One thing I would like to state here is, while completing your Form M, there is a place where we capture as prefix. All goods that are to be subjected to destination inspection are to be marked BA. Goods that are not to be subjected to destination inspection are to be marked CB. One may ask, what are the goods, that are not subject to destination inspection. Mr. Atahiru have mentioned quite a lot of them that are not within the purview of the SON, the chemicals, the arms and ammunition, human parts for many donors like kidneys, liver, and the rest. So these are goods that when you expose them to destination inspection, probably there will be contamination. There may be risk attached to such, goods. So these are the goods, captured CB. That means not subject to destination inspection. But all goods captured as BA or goods not captured as CA are, subjected to destination, inspection. So obtaining E from M step by step. I think this is Mr. Niket and the other people. I believe this is something that a lot of people, you will expose them to this. But let me give a highlight of it. Importer applies. He just have to have his tax identification number. Initiate a Form M through an authorized dealer bank. By authorized dealer banks here, we mean our own commercial banks. Then step 2, he completes and attach, fill the Form M and attach all supporting document electronically. We will get to see the supporting document that will be attached to the Form M. But one of such important document is the product certificate. It has to be attached to the Form M for it to be registered by the Nigerian Customs. Step 3, I've said this still, I'm saying it again for emphasis. The banks will now validate. There is difference between initiation, validation, and registration. The customer initiates, he attach all the supporting documents. The bank now will validate this document. They check for authenticity. When they check for authenticity of this document, they validate. They act here on behalf of the Central Bank of Nigeria because we cannot, interface with these customers directly, and these customers, come to the commercial banks. So after the validation of these documents, then the next thing, it moves to the Nigerian Custom. The Nigerian Custom now register these Forms M. The responsibility of Nigerian Custom is to register this Form M. Immediately after the registration, the form now becomes active for import. That means you can go ahead and import what you intend to import using the Form M. I want to believe this is clear. I'm really emphasizing this because it's very, very important. Then this takes us to the next aspect of my presentation, which is the documentation requirement. Key document here is proforma invoice. Proforma invoice is very key, and it has to be attached to the Form M because that is the only thing that will aid the registration by the Nigerian Customs. The provisional invoice from the exporter is the foundation of the Form M. What are the things that will be detailed in the Form M, in the proforma invoice? We need to have a detailed description of the goods, prices, and quantity on the proforma invoice, right? Imports, again, this point too is really very important. Imports into Nigeria are on cost and freight basis, CFR basis. But there are some concessions given for oil and gas importation into Nigeria. So oil and gas importers may decide or may choose to use, delivery at place, that is DAP, port of destination. But then it has to be stated on the proforma invoice as well. That is the Incoterm. Then port of destination, it has to be stated. We have major ports in Nigeria. We have Apapa, Tinkan in Lagos, and we have only other ports in the country. So it has to be stated where that goods is destined to. It's destined to Nigeria and is meant to berth at so port. If it is Apapa port, it will be stated on the proforma invoice. If it is Tinkan, it's going to be stated on the proforma invoice. Another important thing is the Form M amount must agree with the proforma. Yes, I will speak to major mistake or pitfalls by some importers into Nigeria. So, Form M amount must tally with what is on the pro forma invoice. You cannot say I'm importing goods worth $1 million US, for example, on your pro forma, while on your Form M, we will now see $2 million. Definitely, this will arouse suspicion, and the suspicion is going to be that, is this going to be a trade-based money laundering, right? So in order to avoid unnecessary delay, you should ensure that the amount on your Form M agrees with what is on your pro forma, invoice. I stated here, watch out, remittances, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, remittances or remittance will be allowed only on commercial invoice. That is the final invoice amount. Keep pro forma Form M and final invoice consistent. It has to be consistent. So where there is no consistency between this document, there is bound to be delay and probably an unforeseen, circumstance. Then, one thing that is very important here again, validity. Pro forma invoice has a validity period. The validity period for pro forma invoice is 90 days. 90 days validity for pro forma invoice. But then we know there may be need for this pro forma invoice to be refreshed. So refresh it if it expires before you lodge the Form M, right? So another document, I have said it before, Another document is product certificate. I have said this already. Issued by SON, approved firm. I don't know. HQTS is one. I don't know if they still use Cotecna and SGS. Confirms the product, conforms with Nigerian standard, large amount, the Form M regulatory document, then the SONCAP certificate, which is issued. This is issued after shipment is has been pre-shipment inspection testing required by SON. Well, this I believe I have captured, but this is the step-by-step pictorial view of how it is done. You get your product certificate, you move to Form M establishment, inspection, SONCAP, clearance. Another document that is very important, again, is the marine insurance. Marine insurance cover must be taken in Nigeria. Again, this is another pitfall that you should avoid. Marine insurance should not be covered outside Nigeria. It must not be taken from outside Nigeria. Marine insurance must be taken in Nigeria by a company registered in Nigeria to process, the Form M. Document lodged with Form M. Again, we have pro forma invoice, which is valid for 90 days. The pro forma invoice, product certificate, importer and exporter bank details, insurance certificate, detailed description of goods, then permit. Another thing important here is the permit. Not only SON issues, permits. Some permits for the importation of some goods are issued by some regulatory agencies. Mr. Atahiru mentioned NAFDAC, which controls, food, drugs, and other related products. We have NMDPR, Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency. They equally issue some regulatory, permits as well. So it depends on what you have to import into Nigeria. I know Nigeria imports a lot of pharmaceutical, products from India, which is why I believe NAFDAC is very critical to this. So I've spoken about insurance. Then Form M validity. Form M validity. For some of you that are in Nigerian market already, I know because we've had quite some paucity of effects in the past, but I believe we have gone past those days. You see that after the establishment of Form M, payment have not been, you find out that payment for the goods imported will take some time before they are being done. The exporters are being, paid. So it's lasts to a level where the Form M will expire. But that does not mean that with the expiration of the Form M, nothing can be done about that Form M again. So once the validity, all Form M have validity period, just like the pro forma invoice. The validity period for Form M on general merchandise is 360 days. It's very important you hold this. The validity for Form M on general merchandise is 360 days. So once it expires, once it passes the 360 days, the bank, the authorized dealer bank, have the mandate to extend the validity of that Form M by 180 days. But once it exceeds that 180 days, they will have to write to the Direct to Trade and Exchange Department for extension again. Here, we will now extend for another 360 days. But we have capital goods. Capital goods, plant and machinery, their validity period is 720 days. Right? 720 days. Here we mean 2 years. So once the validity of that Form M expires, the bank, the authorized dealer bank, will now extend the validity of that Form M by 360 days. One may be tempted to ask, why the extension, why the validity period for goods, for plant and machinery 720 days? Because it takes some time to manufacture these capital goods. They are not really off the shelf. But general merchandise are off the shelf goods. It doesn't take much time to manufacture this good and to ship these goods to their final destination. That is why we have 720 days for capital goods, 360 days for general merchandise. Once there is that, once it expires, the banks will extend by 360 days. If it expires again without totally consummating the transaction on that Form M, then the customer or the bank will have to write to the Direct to Trade and Exchange Department for extension again, which we will gladly extend by another 360 days. A worth of note here is maximum validity of Form M under letter of credit is 3 years. That is 1,080 days. 3 years. That is the maximum validity. If you are unable to consummate your transaction within 3 years, then you have to establish another Form M. So, a word of note, beyond the bank extension, any further revalidation, okay, I have said this. Now, the Forex manual. The Forex manual, I know I have referred to Forex manual here severally. The Forex manual is the document that guides the operation of trade in the Central Bank of Nigeria. The authorized dealers are really very, familiar with this, and quite a number of, importers are really familiar with this document as well. So, pro forma invoice validity is 90 days. Shipping document received after shipment is very important. Even after you have shipped this goods, you have to submit your shipping document to authorized dealer bank. This shipping document has to be received, 21 days after shipment. After you have shipped, then 21 days after shipment, we have to receive this, shipping document. Then 90 days Exchange control document to the bank. You have 90 days to submit exchange control document, which we call them ECD, to the banks. We have plus and minus tolerance level on the CFR value declared on Form M. This is very important. For goods, you will find out that some importers will import goods above the limit declared on the Form M. In the spirit of trade facilitation, we have given, a limit of plus or minus 10%, meaning that you can import due to an unforeseen circumstance. For example, you can import a little bit, up to 10%, or you can import less than that 10%. I said it clearly that your pro forma invoice must align with what you have on your Form M. But there will be some instances where the final document, your final invoice will show a goods more than the 100%. So in the spirit, as I've earlier said, in the spirit of trade facilitation, the Trade and Exchange Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria has given that leeway of plus or minus 10%. You can increase it by 10% and you can reduce it by that 10%. But yes, this is provided for in the trade process. Imports, remember again, imports are quoted on CFR terms. Remittance is made only on the commercial final invoice, and Form M becomes valid for import only after Nigerian custom registers it. How it connects, I think I would not bore you with this. I have equally explained this. So now, common pitfalls, common exporter pitfalls. These are some of the challenges encountered in the course of imports into Nigeria. Shipping without Form M. Goods that arrive without profile registered Form M may be seized or re-exported by Nigerian authority. You can see that this is a clear and severe, very costly violation. The goods may be seized after spending so much money to import into Nigeria. These goods may be seized, or in some instances, you may be asked to export it back to where you imported it from. So how do you fix this? Insist you are a Nigerian buyer shows a valid registered Form M number before you ship. He just have to show a valid Form M number, which is registered by the Nigerian Customs before you ship these goods. Another mistake or common exporter pitfall is inaccurate or incomplete documents. Mismatch Form M, pro forma, and shipping documents. There is a mismatch. Values that doesn't agree across Form M, pro forma, and final invoice. Missing Form M number on the bill of lading. Again, on your bill of lading or airway bill or roadway bill, in an instance where you will use one of this, there must be Form M on these, forms. Bill of lading, airway bill, there must be bill of Form M number on those things. Make the final invoice match the pro forma exactly, right? Put the Form M number on the bill of lading. I have said it. Cross-check the goods description and value before the par stage. Then, shipping regulated goods without SONCAP certificate. This is another mistake made. We have seen this. All of these pitfalls we're talking about here, we have seen them. That's why. So these are live cases. We have seen situations where imports are made without SONCAP certificate or other regulatory, certificate. You're attaching an unverified or unmatching or unmatched product certificate, a product certificate that does not match what you are importing, or overlooking NAFDAC or agency clearance where required. You want to import drugs and pharmaceuticals into Nigeria, you ignore NAFDAC, you don't, get a regulatory certificate before you do that. So what are the fix for this mistake? obtain product certificate well before production. Mr. Atahir will have said this. Before production, obtain the certificate. The Cotecna, HQTS are the ones responsible for that. Secure the SONCAP after the QS pre-shipment inspection. Lodge certificate with the Form M for validation by the ADBs. Another mistake is goods leveled only in a foreign language. You don't level goods in only Indian or another or French or German. You will label it in English as well, because English is the official language here in Nigeria. Even if there will be label in another language, in foreign language, but there has to be translation of that of those label in English. VEC or generic product description. You see that somebody is importing, he will say general merchandise only. You will not give a detailed description. So avoid that. That means the moment we see those vague, the moment we see this vague description, we will then say this importer, exporter have something to hide. This will lead to seizure, misclassification, or wrong valuation. How do we fix this? Ensure all goods carry English labels and instruction. Use detailed description, brand, model, and specs. Consistent description that will ease custom, clearance. Another mistake, pitfall, is payment terms and foreign exchange limit. We have, for example, advance payment. Demanding more than the allowed down payment forces extra approval and stalls the FX and shipment process. It's been approved that you can only request for advance payment of up to 30% of the FOB value. The 70% balance will be done, after delivery or via letter of credit. So one of the mistakes is demanding more than the allowed down payment. So how do we fix this? Structural terms within the manual's limits. It says down payment less or equals to 30% of FOB. Balance of shipment delivery or on delivery or by letter of credit. Compliance matters. There will be issues that has to do, there are issues on compliance here. Refusal to comply, there is an implication. This is captured in our Foreign Exchange Manual, the 4th edition, which was recently launched. 1, inadequate documentation. Apart from the laws that, an exporter, importer may encounter, there are some sanctions attached to that as well. For inadequate documentation, authorized dealer, the bank will now pay 100 million plus 10 million per transaction. You can see this is a huge amount. Failure to submit FX document. Importer is restricted from FX, including from M processing, right? Then, if you refuse to submit document, but here, we sometimes are faced with issues around false or forged documents. If an importer is found to have committed this offense, he is to spend up to 5-year imprisonment or 5 times the FX amount. 10 times for companies. The dealer's license is revoked. That means the bank's license may be revoked, or the dealer's, the person importing his license may be revoked. So this is really a stringent, penalty. Unapproved reallocation. When FX is sought on one Form M to pay to the supplier, in an event that payment has not been made on that Form M, you find out that some suppliers will now say, why don't you confirm these funds sourced on this Form M to another Form M? That is not allowed without approval. the bank, once the bank apply amount source to pay on Form 123 to pay on 234. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. There will be chance for questions. So that if you apply form that is gotten to make payment on Form A, when you apply it on Form B, that bank is sanctioned 10 million naira per transaction and is going to be referred to the Bankers Committee on Ethics Subcommittee. So now, putting it together, I'm about rounding up. Putting it together, exporter checklist for Nigeria. Engage your buyer early, confirm they know internationally. Tuesday. Yes. Sorry about that. My director just. So, exporter checklist for Nigeria. Engage your buyer. Confirm they know from M. Provide accurate pro forma for them, certificate and permit. Never ship before approval. Wait for the Nigerian customs to register Form M. It must carry its number on the transport document. Don't ship without the Form M being approved. This is what we call in the CBN parlance as shipment before predating or predating. That is shipment before the establishment of that Form M. Don't do that. It's actually a terrible practice. Mind the timelines. Form M, 360 days general merchandise, 720 days capital goods, pro forma invoice, valid for 90 days. Verify SONCAP. Get the product certificate, then match all documents. Final invoice, transport document must mirror the Form M values and description, meaning that there shouldn't be discrepancies. Stay up to date on the rules, trade, rules in Nigeria. Now, as a recap, SONCAP, E-Form M, and customs, these are necessary for, importation into Nigeria. SONCAP gives you the conformity certificate. Then you come to the Form M registration portal, which is called Bodogu in Nigeria, which will be expatiated more by the person from the Nigerian customs. Then the customs registration stage, which will be done by the Nigerian customs. So Form M, non-negotiable first stage. Then you complete documentation is key. Complete documentation is key. CBN's integral role navigating SONCAP, and customs. So thank you very much for listening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Richard and Niket.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jamilu, for your detailed presentation. So I would now request Mr. Idu Ame from HQTS Nigeria to kindly give his presentation. Over to you, Mr. Idu.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning or afternoon. I'm going to speak further on what the director for the International Product Certification Department spoke on, Mr. Stephen Atahiru, just to elaborate it from the point of view of an IAF or certification body. So, as you have been told, SONCAP is a program of SUN to handle the verification of conformity for offshore products to Nigeria. The backbone of it is hinged on the Nigerian industrial standards. We're aware that India has its own standards. However, when you start the process and wish to ship to Nigeria, you must consult the NIS, the Nigerian Industrial Standards. The website, the link to the SUN library is available. It's always good to double check, especially for those who already would have test reports from accredited laboratories for their products coming to Nigeria. SON, as the regulator, as you were told earlier, has designated HQTS
So we can't hear what Idu is saying.
Mr. Niket, I think as Mr. Idu had mentioned that there is some issue with regard to his network, right? So will it be
We can
possible
allow the
for...
next speaker to go ahead with the presentation. Yeah.
Yes, so we may go ahead with the next presentation, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I would now request Mr. Muazu to kindly deliver a presentation on customs compliance and import clearance procedures in Nigeria, a very important topic, in fact. The import documentation requirements, what are the trade facilitation initiatives, and the common customs related challenges. So, as we can all understand, it's a very important topic from the perspective of the Indian exporters who are willing to explore the Nigerian market or those who are already exporting. So, over to you, Mr. Muazu.
Thank you very much. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I am Chief Superintendent of Customs, Modibo Moawia Moal from Nigerian Customs Service. The service is delighted by having this opportunity to interact with our stakeholders, therefore impacting and giving out knowledge on the process and procedure of clearance. Specifically on this presentation that is being proposed by the HQTS in conjunction with the Federation of Indian Export Organization, that is Customs Compliance and Import Clearance procedure in Nigeria. We have about 5 topics to discuss on this important presentation. Starting with is a customs compliance, and custom compliance. What is a custom compliance? We need to understand the stages in order to have a good landing while clearing your process, while clearing your goods at the port of arrival. Custom compliance refers to the observance of all laws, regulation, procedures, and requirements relating to the importation and exportation of goods. A compliance importer is more likely to enjoy faster cargo clearance, lower logistic costs, and stronger business relationship. What is entails here that once if we have a compliance trader based on the profiling, someone that abide by the rules and regulation of the importation into Nigeria or from any geographical location into the Nigerian territory. Definitely, he will have a soft landing while trying to clear his goods at any port of arrival within the Nigerian territory. What are the benefits? The benefits are revenue collection in terms of the government, border security, economic protection, reduced delays, lower cost, better supply chain efficiency within the value chain, right from the logistic company, the financial institutions, and the government-related agencies based on international standards. The legal provision for the compliance as is embedded in the Act, that is Nigerian Customs Service Act 2023, reverse Kyoto Convention, which is a baby or a product of World Customs Organization in conjunction with the World Trade Organization, World Customs Organization Safe Framework of Standard, and WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement. Then the second topic is on the customs clearance process. We have about 8 steps while trying to make a clearance into customs portal, and which is very important for us to understand this stage, because my senior colleagues from SONCAP as well as from CBN has already explained in details the requirements of this certification, because ordinarily, you know, customs comes at the third layer of the process, that is the enforcement aspect. We are not the originator of all regulatory documents like SONCAP. We are not in the monetary aspect like the CBN. Thereby, they are the one to initiate. So in Custom Palace, we have 2 segments. That is, we have the trader zone as well as the custom zone. So all these 8 steps, it will give us an insight on how we can clear our good at the port of arrival, as well as it will also spell out the responsibility of each and every stakeholder as we move on. Starting from the step 1, that is pre-shipment preparation. Pre-shipment preparation, as my senior colleague from the CBN already highlighted, that obtaining Form M, as well as the SONCAP, that is the regulatory certificate, with all other agencies in charge of the good that is intended to be imported into the enclave of Nigerian territory. So definitely the cradle stage, after having intention to import into Nigeria, the first and foremost, you have to obtain your Form M, which my senior colleague has already explained that this form is not manually obtained. It's not something that you can move to any organization or whatsoever, even though it's under the commercial banks, but it's something that you can obtain it online. You can obtain it online, and then as long as you have identification number, you can able to obtain, you can able to access the form online 247, that is 24 hours. So Form M is the current stage. So you filling the obtain, or you filling the Form M doesn't mean that you can go ahead with your importation, you can go ahead with your shipment without further processing. The Form M needs to be verified, needs to be certified by Nigerian Customs. So the same thing with the SONCAP certification. After obtaining your Form M, you also need to proceed to the SONCAP certification for goods that required the certification. So as well as the NAFDAC and other related agencies. So step two, that is the shipment and manifest. That's a sudden responsibility for the logistic industry. That is the shipping line, either the shipping line or the airline or the person that is carrying the goods into the Nigerian enclave. You need to process and proceed with the proper documentation process. If not, most of the shipping lines, they already have the standard procedure. So you not abiding by such documentary requirement, it may be even rejected. Step 3 is the pre-arrival issuance, that is pre-arrival assessment report. After getting all the certifications, all the certification of the specified goods, and your Form M is being registered by Nigerian Customs Service after filling it on behalf of the CBN from your designated commercial bank, that is your transaction bank, the bank that can able to transact between the importer and the exporter bank. Then the pre-arrival assessment report can now work on the document that is being submitted. Specifically, is for trade facility. For it, pre-arrival assessment is very important because whatever queries that has been pop up on that, so the importer can able to go back and then verify the query and then resubmit it before issuing that certificate of pre-arrival assessment report. So with that, if the pre-arrival assessment report is ready, which means all your details, all your documentary process is genuinely, and you are ready to present a perfect document at the customs zone. So pre-arrival assessment report encapsulates all the processes at the trader zone. Step 4, declaration submission. Importer submit SDD via Bodogu platform. Bodogu platform is an indigenous platform that is built by Nigerian Customs Service in order for the importer to declare the intended or imported goods from any enclave around the globe into the geographical or Nigerian territory. So after declaring such, you know the single good declaration is of international standard, in which we have 54 boxes that carries all the information, the details information from the origin, the manifest, the taxation process, the valuation process, as well as the harmonized system code, the HS code that is being used. So all other information that is being embedded on the single good declaration is the summary of all the document that is obtained at the trader zone. So with that, it can lead us to step 3, which is the risk assessment, and or step 5, sorry, assessment and payment. That is the duty assessment and payment made via authorized dealer bank. After making such a declaration, actually, you know, it may pop up the duty liability for the good that is dutiable. Initially, my senior colleague from CBN, Mr. Jamil, has really emphasized on such declarations, that is the BA and the CB Form M, that is the prefix. Any prefix that has been declared under the BA assessment, actually it's have a financial implication. That is a dutiable process. You can pay the duty unless if you are using the extended financial redeem code like the import duty exemption certificate. So, but once if you have a perfect declaration and issued accompany with the stage 3, that is the pre-arrival assessment report, that is you are bringing a perfect declaration, you should expect a taxable, that is a financial liability, in which Nigerian Customs Service doesn't collect any duty under its own roof. Therefore, you can move into the financial institution, that is the financial bank, commercial banks, to present the assessment that is being generated by the Bodogu platform. Once if you present, the whole process is being synchronized, in which they can view it at their own end, and your duty liability will be deducted from your account. After being deducted, the system will now trigger into Nigerian Customs Service, that is the Bodogu platform, that yes, the payment, the declaration has been submitted, the duty liability has been offset via the designated commercial bank on behalf of the CBN. Then the system will trigger the risk assessment and lane assessment. The risk assessment, the lane assessment from the Bodogu risk engine. We have the various risk engine, that is, if it is a high risk if it is a high risk good, it will send to the red lane. We have the yellow lane, which is the documentary. We have our fast track. We have our fast track lane. We have our green lane, which it will, even the system will release automatically if your document and any other previous transaction has been in a compliance lane. You don't even need any physical examination or documentary check in order to facilitate trade. Step 7, that is the customs release. In case of your good rerouted, that is your declaration has been rerouted into a red lane that is subjected to fiscal examination, not scanning, either documentary lane, then you are to go to position your container to ascertain between the documentary process and the fiscal goods that is on ground before releasing of that shipment, which most it may cause delay because of the inconsistency from the previous documentation processes. Then the last step is the terminal release and exit. The way the system works, after being imported, it will be deposited, the custom good will be deposited under the customs control area, but with the terminal operators. Terminal operators cannot have access to the single good declaration, which has been declared by the representative of the importer or the importer itself. So it is after the whole process, the custom clearance process, which after the custom clearance process, then the terminal operator can have access to the single good declaration and then exit the goods. From exiting, you now proceed to our final gate for the gate pass. Then the topic 3 is import documentation requirement. Import documentation requirement, we have already stated earlier, that is the Form M, which is the cradle stage, is the importer via the Bodogo platform. Form M is a document of the Central Bank of Nigeria, while the pre-arrival assessment report is the importer, is had responsibility for the importer via the Bodogo platform. But you have to submit all your documents via the bank onto the Bodogo platform. The SONCAP certification, which is a accredited firm, accredited firm, the product certificate, which will be generated by the, I think, the IFA, that is the International Accredited Firms, that is appointed by the Standard Organization of Nigeria purposely for the conformity assessment program. So the DAPDAP certificate in terms of the drug, food, military hardware, which has already been expansiated, which has already been explained by the SONCAP officer, Mr. Atahiru. Commercial invoice, that is from the manufacturer or the supplier, is a saddle responsibility after getting the financial obligation, after offsetting the financial obligation from the importer, the seller need to issue the commercial invoice as well as the final certificate of value and origin, the bill of lading, airway bill, that is the shipping line or the airline. Packing list is a saddle responsibility by the seller. The combined certificate of value and origin, I have already mentioned it earlier. So the fourth topic, that is the trade facilitation initiative. Nigerian Customs Service has been on the program phase after phase. We have been deploying the technological tool. We have been deploying the program in line with the World Customs Organization 10 building block, as well as the World Trade Organization. So all this program is to enhance the facilitation of trade, to increase the turnaround of any transaction within a specific period of time. That is, one, we have the advance ruling, that is the trader can request official customs decision on HS classification, valuation, and origin before importation. So therefore, this, which entails that before you even fill your Form M, after having intention of obtaining or importing such a good from any supplier around the globe, then the three important things, the HS classification, the valuation, and the origin, you may request in the Nigerian Customs Service, submit your application within 150 days. You can't be given a ruling on such. This is our standard. This is our stand on the product that you are bringing, the value, the classification, and the origin. Step 2 is the authorized economy operator. Authorized economy operator is a certified trader enjoy expedited clearance and reduced inspection as trusted supply chain partners. As you declare based on the 8 stages that I have mentioned earlier, the system will be profiling your compliance level. Based on that compliance level, Nigerian Customs Service can able to certify can able to certify your status by placing you under that program, that if your goods arrive the country, that good can move into your doorstep without even inspecting the goods because of your previous record, which facilitate trade. That entails the importance of having your documents, preparing yourself well, using a good customs broker, using a logistic supply chain, your financial institution, all the stakeholders. If they can operate on the standard, international standard, definitely at the end of it, the result that the Nigerian Customs Service will award such a certificate to you, and you can enjoy while having your export into from any enclave into Nigerian territory. The third program is the non-instructive inspection. That is the use of the X-ray scanners and other technology to inspect cargo without physical opening of containers. Time release study, major time taken to release goods from arrival to the exit. From arrival to exit, identifying bottleneck to improve efficiency. Nigerian Customs Service deployed such 2 years ago, in which right from the offloading of the good from the quayside into the stacking area up to the exit process, that is the stage 4 to 8 that I mentioned earlier, is being timed. Is being timed in the sense that we can see how long it will take to clear such a shipment. From there, whatever challenges we face, maybe is on the documentation process or on the issue of compliance level or whatsoever, and then or on the other agencies. That is the delay is coming from the other agencies. Definitely we can spot it out, and there is a synergy. That is why the core mandate of my Comptroller General is a collaboration, innovation, and consolidation. So we can able to reach out to our very important stakeholders while we have challenges in order to resolve it for the future prosperity in the clearance supply chain. The use of technology, that is the deployment of Bodogu and other digital platform to streamline customs process. Of recent, Nigerian Customs Service has deployed the indigenous platform, that is the Bodogu system, which is synchronized the whole stakeholders into one platform, right from the declaration, the financial institution, and other regulatory agencies, which interface electronically, and it increased the speed of the clearance process. So the last topic is on common exporter mistake, in which we have wrong procedure. Using incorrect customs procedure leads to delay and potential penalties from NCS, because the whole process, the self-declaration from the representative of the importer, as I said earlier, we have a single good declaration, which we have 54 boxes, and each and every box has its own importance. So by you choosing a wrong custom broker, which may not able to understand the process, which may not able to represent you well on that. From here, looking at the form, the boxes, by X-raying, we will now perceive or will now know that, okay, this is a potential risk which is subject to 100% examination, which will raise suspicion, and it may create delay at the port of arrival. Incorrect HS classification. Wrong tariff classification result in underpayment or overpayment of import duties and levies. Actually, Nigerian Customs Service is the enforcer of the law. We are not the one to initiate the whole process. We are to enforce what has been generated. For instance, you can declare something under generic, like electrical appliances, like our building material. You have to be specific, because Nigerian Customs Service, we actually deal with a specific description. We have the 6th interpretative rule that is being guided by the Harmonized System Code. And one of the rules states clearly that specific description should be preferred than general description. So under the 10-digit codes, we have what it tags as orders. Whenever a declarant or representative of the importer declared under that order that is not being specific is subject to suspicions. What are you carrying? Then we can now begin to trace. Okay, let's go back to the pre-arrival assessment report. Is it the same HS code, the same description? Okay, let's go back to the commercial invoice. That is the invoice that is being produced by the supplier. What is he declaring? What is on the invoice? We can now still find electrical appliances. Okay, let's go back to the packing list. We will now see still electrical appliances. Let's go back to the SONCAP. You will see maybe the same. And then let's go back to the Form M. You can able to trace which was subject to, okay, let's try and verify the physical content of the container, and from there it may be detected, okay, this is what is supposed to be. All these on the level of the scrutiny, it may lead to delay in the trade, which the consumer may not be happy at the end of the day. The customs valuation error, misrepresenting the transaction value of the good, is a serious custom offense with legal consequences. Also, regarding to valuation, as we are all aware, we know that we have the 6th method of valuation, which the transaction value supersedes any other value we have from the transaction, the similar, identical, computed, deductive, and then the fallback method. But in customs, we prefer and we apply the transaction value, that is the value that is actually paid or to be paid. Incomplete documentation process, that is the incomplete documentation, missing or incorrect document, self clearance, causing demurrage, charges at the terminal. I have already explained the consequences of having a bogus documentation process. Expired customs or expired document. Using expired Form M, pre-arrival assessment report, or SONCAP certification result in immediate rejection by customs. So once if we can able to detect that, yes, you are using a complete or a expired document, definitely your good will be detained, and subsequently, if you cannot able to meet up with the requirement, it will be seized. It cannot be allowed to move into the customs territory, that is in the Nigerian market. inexperienced customs agent, which is very important. If you want to embark on the importation into the Nigerian market, it is very important for you to look for certified customs broker in order to represent you well in the customs clearance process. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to explain on that presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Muazu, for your detailed presentation. We'll be having the interactive session now.
Yes, Richard, go ahead.
Okay, so participants, I would request you to kindly ask your questions one by one. You may click on the raise hand option at the bottom of the screen and ask your questions. Participants, do you have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please ask your question.
Sir, I am Prem Nivas from Theomlife Pharmaceuticals, Tamil Nadu, India.
Yes.
We are doing that yield supplement products like Moringa capsules, Ashwagandha capsules, and Spirulina capsules.
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. These products are coming under the two categories, sir. One is for pharmaceutical category and also coming under that food supplements category, which is under APEDA. And for two HSN codes also coming under the two HSN codes. So what can I do to export these products to the Nigeria? How can I find out the exact HSN code for this product?
Idu, can you explain about the answer?
Can you expound on that question again, please?
The person wants to say he has some products, but both the product categories lies on two different certification system. One is for this NAPDEC, and one comes under few comes under SONCAP. So how is gonna facilitate both of them?
Of course, what it means is that you will have to approach the two different agencies. SON, Standards Organization of Nigeria, will only give you certification for the products that it regulates. That's the way it goes. So any product that is regulated by NAFDAC, you will have to approach NAFDAC, that is the National Agency for Food, Drugs, and Administration and Control. So you have to approach the two different agencies for your certification. That's the way it works. One agency cannot give you certification that covers products that are not regulated by the agency. That is why in my presentation, I defined the scope of products that are regulated by SON. So if the products do not fall under the scope of regulation of SONCAP, there's no way we'll give you the requisite certification for that particular product. So when you approach the IAF, the independent accreditation firms that give you that carry out the conformity assessment, they would advise you appropriately whether that product is covered by SON. If it is not covered by SON, they will refer you to NAFDAC. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I think we'll first take up the questions which are there in the chat box. There are a couple of them, and after that we can take up the questions of the participants who are asking the questions individually one by one. So there's a question from Virendra Lakhani. We manufacture textile machinery spares. Do we need to obtain any certificate? Mr. Virendra, if you're there in the meeting, kindly elaborate on your question, please. Mr. Virendra, are you there in the meeting?
Yes, I am there. Just I was curious which certificate I need to take before sending a consignment to Nigeria or processing any order for Nigeria. Are you getting my question, sir?
So for textiles,
It's a textile machine spares, not
you are a
textile.
manufacturer, okay, the machine spare.
Yes.
All right. So it depends on what the importer wants to. If the importer is bringing in the machinery
I think that
into
it's
Nigeria.
about the frequency.
Not the
Of
frequency.
the
It's
shipment.
not the frequency. Parts. It's a spares for the. I would say service industry. I'm in the service industry, and we supply textile machinery spares. So some machine gets the breakdown, and we supply the spares to them to restart their machines.
So the director asked you, are you the manufacturer of the
Yes.
items?
Yes.
Okay. So you're eligible for any of three certificates, PC1, PC2, or PC3.
Okay.
It depends on the frequency of your shipments.
Okay.
If you're doing one-offs, then it's the PC1.
Okay.
If you're a frequent shipper, then we start you off with the PC2, and then gradually, based on your compliance levels, we graduate you to the PC3.
Okay. Okay. And from where I get this PC1 certificates? Hello?
From any of the independent
You
accredited
contact
firms
our
that I
office in
mentioned
India,
earlier.
and they will start the process with you.
Fine.
Niket is on the line.
Okay.
Dev is in India.
Okay.
And they will reach out to you after this meeting.
Fine, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks. That's sorted my queries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Idu. So the next question is from Simpa Pharma Private Limited. If someone can point me to NAFDAC to understand their requirements better, that would be of great help. So I think, Mr. Idu, the representative of this company can visit, can contact the HQTS India office. I think that would be better, right?
I would just like to add in something here. NAPTEC is something which does not fall under SONCAP regulation. It is a separate authority which has separate inspection and regulations to regulate such kind of product.
Sorry,
So you have
what I can
to.
advise? What I
To
can
interrupt you,
advise?
Niket. Sorry to interrupt you,
Sorry,
Niket.
what I can
We are
advise?
available to assist our customers, such as the FIEO and their organization, whatever needs they have in Nigeria, whether it's for NAFDAC or for SUN, we make ourselves available to assist them in this manner, so long as it's information-based. However, in terms of our service delivery, we will stick to SUN-regulated products only for now. So I hope that's understood.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we'll move on to the next question. Unfortunately, I'm not being able to understand what is the name of the participant because only the mobile number is being displayed. So the question from the participant is, would like to know more about the new NSW guidelines. I'm not exactly sure this question is from which company or what is the name of the person. Niket sir, would you wish to put some light on this or explain it further?
I am not able to understand this question.
It's not an
I
issue.
will explain you about this question. This is about the new national single window guidelines being published by Nigerian authorities. through which I believe product certificate, MFORM, and SONCAP needs to be aligned. So I want some information inputs about this.
Sorry, could you rephrase that question?
No, he wants
This is about the
information on the
single window
national
platform
single
from
window.
Nigerian authorities where the SONCAP gets transmitted.
Dev, do you mind typing out? Nikat, please type out the question so we can. It's not very audible.
All right, I got the question. Let me answer that question. I got the question. So the national single window is like the current one-stop shop platform for applications. So once you contact your independent accredited firm, process your certificates. The firms to guide you on what to do once certificates are issued to you. The new procedure is that once the certificates are issued and transmitted to the national single window, the importer is expected to log into the national single window and activate that certificate. So, but at the point of issuance of the certificate, you deal specifically with the independent accredited firm, like HQTS. But the importer eventually has to log into the national single window and activate that certificate to utilize it. Does that make any sense?
The challenge what Indian community is right now facing is currently there are multiple models being issued by certain certification bodies on the product certificate. But when, as per the NSW, it prompts us to make an invoice as per the model lines, or they want each certificate, each line on the model separately to be mentioned on the product certificates. That's what the new guidelines from the SON are. That's what I believe. So how to deal with such situations where the product certificate contains multiple models under a single line, and subsequently on the SONCAP, it is not aligned somehow. So clients are facing challenges while using the same product certificate, where suppose, I will give you an example. On the product certificate, there are 4 models mentioned with commas, A, B, C, and D. And suppose on the SONCAP, they want to apply on the invoice only so 6 lines, suppose, for 2 lines, A and B. Then it doesn't get transmitted, and it shows error that the PC1 has got less number of lines than the SONCAP or on the invoice. So how to deal with such situations? So we have only option to amend the product certificate.
Well, these issues were experienced.
May I take this?
All right.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we have continually faced this issue, mainly because the Nigerian government, the customs, the central bank, Standards Organization of Nigeria have said that they will only deal with the 10-digit HS code. Now, what this means is that they no longer have shortened it to the 4 digits or the 6 digits, as the case may be, which had then broadened the number of items that could be put under subheadings for one product. That being said, if you have a certificate from 11, 10, or 9 months ago, you would still face this issue. However, I guarantee you that going forward, no inspection company that is regulated by SON is going to issue you a product certificate with so much ambiguity. It will be clear. In addition to that, SON has also reduced the price for the additional models in the certificate down to $60 per additional line item. So that for every item on your pro forma invoice, it matches to whatever is on your packing list, just as the CBN told you and the customs told you. And also it will match on your shipment certificate and on your PAR application and your single goods declaration. This is so that there is uniformity across board. So you are correct. As of late October 2025 up until March of 2026, this challenge has continued to occur, and stakeholders have complained, but we've continued to fix the problem by making the amendments. However, new certificates will not have these issues because us, the inspection companies, have been advised to advise you correctly. I hope this helps.
One more question. In spite of these proceedings, so we are aware that now the number of line items or the charges for the adding line items are reduced to $60, and the maximum levels are capped to 300 lines now. But when we apply, we using such certificate recently issued by certification body with 10-digit HS code. For example, on the product certificate, there is a single line on the product certificate, but and multiple models being mentioned by commas because they hold the specific general description and a common 10-digit HS code also. However, as there are multiple variants, they have added it with commas. But when we apply or when we mention on the invoice the 4 different models separately, it shows error. It is saying that PC has got only single line, whereas the invoice or the SONCAP applied has got multiple lines, and it doesn't get transmitted easily. So that is a challenge what we are facing.
Okay, this is why, like I said before, the certification body, the inspection company who is handling your certificate, from the onset, the primary requirement is your pro forma invoice, your test reports from accredited laboratories, to marry these documents together.
Okay, got it.
We can't hear Edu anymore. But I hope you got what he was trying to drive at.
Yes.
So right from your product certificate to what you have on your Form M to what you have on your shipment certificate, they have to be in consonance.
Hello, I have one concern. Why in India not following every IF or CB the same rule? Some CB is saying that it's okay, we will manage in one line. Some CB says it is not possible. So why this discrepancy?
Come again? I didn't get that.
I just want to know, in India, if we ask for one CB, they said they will manage in single line, that PC. And if I approach same the another CB, they say that no, it's not possible. You have to go for the multiple models. So why such a difference in CBs?
I'm not so sure I understand what you're saying, but like I mentioned in my presentation, we have sometimes this amount to these sharp practices. Certain independent accredited firms would want to do things would want to implement sharp practices to just sway to their side and the real institutions consistent every time. When any IAF
All will be on the same page.
So what we encourage clients to do is when you go to our website, you have contact. You can reach out to us directly and lodge your complaints. Those are the bases for which we use to even assess the performance of the IAF that carry out these services on our behalf. We need this kind of feedback from you, the exporters. We need this feedback. So you go to our website, you have email addresses, you have phone numbers, reach out to us, provide us this kind of information, and then we use it to ensure that we improve the process. Very key to us.
Thank you very much, sir. We will continue to give you feedback regarding this, and especially now that we're in touch with our stakeholders very closely in India regarding the discrepancy. As the director has said, in the guideline, it is stated that anti-competitive practices will not be tolerated and are punishable by SUN. It is not the design of SUN to have different pricings for the certificate. HQTS is not a party to such practices. We publish the prices as issued by SUN to all of our clients, so you can be rest assured about that. Somebody in the cable manufacturing industry has posted a question, and I'd like to respond to that quickly. Electrical cables are regarded as life-endangering products and can only be imported to Nigeria or certified using two routes, either the PCU, which is for unregistered, or the license category. These are the only two routes that your electrical cables are eligible for. In the second instance, which is the license category, we would obviously have to carry out a factory audit. In the first instance, PCU, we would only carry out inspection, a witness testing of the product prior to shipment. Our team in India will get in touch with you and avail you the prices and the procedure, which is very straightforward and very, very fast. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we will move on to the next question. But I think this has already been covered. How to get information regarding the certification fees of SONCAP. So I think this has already been covered. And so we'll move on to the next question. There's a question once again from Mr. Virendra. We manufacture and supply textile machine parts. Which certificates we need to export to Nigeria? Mr. Virendra.
Richard, thank you. I think the question from Mr. Andavar, what are the certificates that are required?
Right.
Obviously, you need the product certificate. And when it's time for shipment, you need the shipment certificate. But the most important question he needs to ask is this. For the oil mill production machinery, what are the test requirements for those machines? What are the testing parameters for those machines? This is where he needs to contact HQTS and via us obtain the Nigerian industrial standards to make sure that the testing of his machineries is done in line with Nigeria's approved standards. With this, we would then review the test reports. If he's not able to, we will collect samples from him and test in our own laboratory. Once this is done, you are then eligible for any of the first three categories of the product certificate for your oil mill machinery. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Idu. We'll move on to the next question from Lubhani Goel. Please let me know if compliance is the same for exporting small quantities of goods through courier or post.
Come again?
What is so basically Lubhani Goel wishes to know that is the compliance same with regard to exporting small quantities of goods through courier or post? I think the participant is referring to the SONCAP compliance. things. So basically, sir,
It's
the
the same.
participants wants to know that if
What is important is yes, I'm listening.
so, sir, basically the participant wants to know that if they are exporting in small quantity or through courier or post route, then I mean, what is the difference with regard to compliance?
What we require from the IAS is the country of source, whether the country of supply. So the cost is same. It doesn't matter what route it passes through. It's the same.
Okay.
There's
Thank you, sir.
no difference.
Thank you. Sir, there
Yeah.
are several other questions also, but I don't think that it would be possible for us to cover all the questions. And I do understand that the participants are, they have been able to, utilize this session a lot, which is very much understandable through the questions which they have, but we have already well passed over the time. That is, our session was officially till 5 p.m. and it is we are well past over an hour above the official time. So I think considering the time for all the participants and especially for all the guest speakers today who are here from Nigeria, so I would end the session today. So thank you to all the speakers, especially from the government authorities in Nigeria, and thank you to all the HQTS speakers, Mr. Idu, Mr. Niket. Thank you, sir. And we really look forward to having such similar sessions in the future because as you all are aware that Nigeria is a robust export partner of India, and the trade relations between India and Africa is growing with every day, especially considering the importance of the global south. So our country is very much keen at, boosting the bilateral trade relations with Africa as a whole, and Nigeria is one of the largest trading partners of India in the African continent. And we really look forward to having these similar sessions in the future. And I would request Mr. Niket to kindly share the copies of the presentation which were delivered today with us. And Mr. Niket, would you wish to say a few words before the end of today's session?
Uh,
Mr. Niket, are you there?
uh,
Yeah, please go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, please.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you so much for allowing us to use FIFO's platform to spare knowledge about Nigerian captions and companies. And I also like to thank the guests who have joined and give us information on Nigeria market and the consent regulations. And also would like to thank people from HQTS who have joined and given us, relative information on this subject. And I think if anything you require in future, my contact number is shared in the chat. You can direct to me or you can also email me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you to all the guest speakers from Nigeria. It really means a lot that you have given so much time to us for this session. And thank you for your patience and for your time once again. Thank you, Mr. Stephen. Thank you, Mr. Idu, Mr. Jamilu, Mr. Muadzu. Thank you to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir
too.
Richard.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir. Thank you. And thank you to all the participants. Hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Central Bank. Thank you very much, Standards Organization of Nigeria. And thank you very much, the Nigerian Customs Service. We hope to continue to collaborate with you in these sort of endeavors continually. Thank you so much. Thank
Sure,
you.
sir. We will, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks to you once again,
Bye-bye.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.